Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 7th December 2020. In this video, we'll be discussing about the importance of Green Revolution and its role in transforming Punjab as a rich agricultural state, what changed after that, and why we should take a fresh look at the farm laws and address the concerns raised by the Punjabi farmers. The second article is about the importance of research and development and how the uh, new education policy or the National Education Policy 2020 is playing a positive role in this front. Let us have a look at these articles now. The first article for the day is taken from the Indian Express and it is titled Make Punjab Great Again. If you take a look at the present farmers' concerns, it is mainly about MSP. But one might get a question as to why only the farmers of Punjab are so worried about the farm laws and why not the farmers from other places. This is because of the historical context in which the protests are taking up. So, if you take a look at the Green Revolution way back in the 1960s, we have to owe our food security to the state of Punjab because this is the place where Green Revolution has actually begun. So, way back in the 1960s, when India was dependent upon a program called PL 480 Food Distribution or Food Grains Distribution Program by the US, we did not have enough foreign reserves. So, we were humiliated by the United States in a lot of situations, and this has pushed our country to take up this idea of green revolution driven by chemical fertilizers and the modern technology through high yielding varieties. Luckily enough, India today does not have the same kind of situation that we have seen in the phase of PL 480 program. At the same time, we also have to remember that India's economic growth has grown multifold, and today we have a foreign reserves of worth nearly $550 billion. But if you take the case in the 1960s, we did not have enough funds to procure the required food grains for a particular amount of time. So the situation has reversed. Now it is in this context you have to understand that the regime of MSP began. India did not have enough food grains, and the farmers growing these varieties were assured a minimum support price in order to experiment with these varieties. What happened afterwards was these farmers became very rich and were so dependent upon agricultural subsidies in the form of input subsidies. Say, for example, today, Punjab, every household, as per the calculation in this article, every agricultural farmer receives nearly 1.22 lakh fertilizer subsidy. Another fact is that 99% of the area under farming in Punjab is irrigated. Now, if you compare that with, say, a state like Maharashtra, where the irrigated land is only to the tune of 20%. So, all these facts put together should definitely indicate that Punjab is the best agricultural state. But is it the fact in the present day? If you take a look at the agricultural inputs, today Punjab stands at 13th position. Southern states like Andhra Pradesh are producing much more per capita GDP, or if you talk in the terms of agriculture, agri GDP per hectare, this is highest in Andhra Pradesh. Punjab stands at an abysmal place of 13. So this indicates that there is a lot of inefficiency in the system. If you take a look at the public distribution system today, food grains worth 1.5 lakh crores are rotting in the system because of this MSP. Since these farmers have all the inputs, say irrigation or agricultural subsidy in the form of agriculture, they also have free electricity. So all this has led to a lot of negative consequences. Say, for example, water table is coming down. There is a lot of pollution leading to eutrophication because of these fertilizers. The salinity or fertility of the soil is coming down, and all this is because of the single policy agenda called minimum support price, wherein a lot of farmers produce just wheat or rice because these are procured by the government through the PDS system. So this is a very inefficient way, because if you take a look at the Food Corporation of India go downs, nearly 60% of them is under storage, and a lot of it is rotting in the godowns because of unscientific management. So definitely we can move away from this regime and create a market based free market economy. Having said that, this is theoretically good, but the only concern that farmers have right now is the fact that in the absence of an MSP system, and with the absence of a private sector player in this region, who is going to ensure their livelihood immediately? So this has led to a political campaign stating that MSP is going to go away. Now it is the government's responsibility to communicate the fact that MSP is here to stay. There is a wrong perception that MSP is going to go away. That is not going to happen. But at the same time, what is needed right now is a agricultural diversification package. Say for example, in a state like Punjab and Haryana, where a lot of farmers, because of the fertility conditions and government policies, are going for monocropping methods like just planting wheat or rice in the respective Kharif and Rabi seasons. This is not a practical method. What they should rather do is move towards those cash crops like the southern states of Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, etc., which have a huge export potential, which will definitely increase the revenue of farmers as well as ensure that they have a good agricultural export market as well. They have a head start. It is true that places like Punjab don't have the other sectors of economy like service industry or industrialization, but it doesn't mean that agricultural can't be made profitable. It requires reimagining the policy with respect to agricultural sector in Punjab, and also requires the right kind of political communication to ensure that their concerns are addressed by the government. Any sort of miscommunication will lead to violence and unwarranted agenda, which will kill the entire reform agenda that we have rightfully placed on the cards to address the woes of agricultural sector. Punjab was one of the few places where agriculture has driven economic growth. Today, the fact that it is at 13th place is a reality check for Punjab to reimagine its entire priorities with respect to agriculture, and also think about environmental concerns like crop stubble burning, or whether it is the falling water tables or the issue of eutrophication or loss of fertility of soils. They have eventually supposed to move towards sustainable farming, but at the same time ensuring higher productivity. That is quite possible if the right kind of measures are taken and the right message is sent by the political leadership. This requires cooperative federalism between Punjab and the center. Thus, we can make Punjab great again. That is the gist of this article. This article is taken from the Financial Express and it is titled A Boost to Research. So basically, in the backdrop of COVID vaccine hunt, we have realized how important R&D sector is for a country. But if you take a look at our country, we spend just around 0.69% of GDP on research and development activities. If you compare that with US and Germany, it is much less. In countries like Germany, they spend nearly 3% of GDP. Now, we have to understand that in absolute terms as well, our amount is quite low. Despite having the skilled workforce, what we are not able to ensure is give them enough facilities to carry out this research and development. The World Intellectual Property Organization's reports say that nearly more than 60% of R&D activities are taken up by the government. So, and most of the 60% funds go into a few areas like space, nuclear energy, and up to a certain extent biotechnology in the form of agriculture. So this shows that not only we are underspending, but also the emphasis is lopsided towards what is considered important for our economy. This warrants a reimagination of the need for R&D and how we can tap into private resources for improving the scene of research and development in our country. In this context, the new education policy is going to play a very important role. The new education policy, or the National Education Policy 2020, has provided for a national research fund. Under its ambit, all the relevant stakeholders, namely industry, government, and academia, are involved in this. What this will ensure is a collaborative platform between all the stakeholders involved in R&D sector. This is a very good start. What needs to be done next is creation of IPRs, that is intellectual property rights. India is not known for protecting its intellectual property, and this is an opportunity to not only garner funds for research but also create an ecosystem where IPR is respected in our country. And when this is done, if IP laws are implemented very stringently, there is an incentive for the stakeholders to participate in this research. Otherwise, they would look to migrate to safe havens where their intellectual property rights are respected. So, this is the first priority. After this, what we can do is take the agenda of national education policy, wherein a multidisciplinary approach. This multidisciplinary approach should be encouraged across all sectors. For example, whatever may be the kind of innovation, it should have a certain social angle as well. It should try to address some sort of a social problem, and when such patents are created, they should be respected and protected by our government's backing. There should not be any sort of complacency on this front. When this is taken care of, the R&D situation will move ahead, and it will trigger a long lasting effect on the entire education sector. India today is not known for its higher education and research. The very reason is because of lack of intellectual property rights protection, and at the same time, there is no incentive for innovators in our country. So that is the gist of this article.